Hi everyone, my name is Cheryl Castillo-Clancharabi. I know it's a long name. I'm an MD PhD student at OHSU. Do I just introduce myself or continue to go on? Or do we just general? A little bit more, okay. So my career path has been kind of tortuous. That being said, what I mean by that is that it's not the very non-traditional route. So I come up from a family of migrant workers, and I'm a first-generation college graduate. And mostly growing up, it was how can you contribute to the family? And yes, you need to go to school, but that is secondary to taking care of what's going on at home. However, my grandparents did see the value in actually obtaining an education, and they knew that that was a pathway to overcoming kind of what was going on generationally. So they encouraged me to try to do both, and it was hard many times over. I ended up dropping out of high school to work a full-time job to help support my family, but knowing that the path to overcoming this was education, I went back to school, actually finished high school early through alternative pathways, night school, different routes with different people helping me out. Graduated, went to the local undergraduate college, thought that immediately I was not supposed to be there. I had this imposter syndrome. You know, this is not me, this is not for me, everybody else is so much smarter. I didn't even have a proper high school education. What am I doing here? But I said, well, I'm going to try my darndest and see if I can get through the semester. And I got through that semester, and I'm like, wow, okay, let's see if I can get through next semester. And slowly I was like, wow, I am now a sophomore. I'm now a junior. My goodness, what's going on? And so I met some really nice people. People that encouraged me to continue on with my pathway. I fell in love with chemistry, solving problems, and I met some mentors that said, you know, we have programs for students just like you, first-generation college students. It's called the Ronald E. McNair Scholars Program. And so they introduced me to different routes of different career paths, kind of very similar to programs that you guys are in, and said, you know, if you want to do something like research, if you're interested in problem solving, we can connect you with those mentors that are necessary for you to accomplish your goals, if your goals are to go, you know, to problem solve and be exposed to this. And I really didn't know what was going on. I'm like, okay, sure, I'll try it. All the while still maintaining a full-time job, still trying to help out with my family. So it was quite a struggle to do all of this together, but I loved every moment of it. And the many mentors that I met along the way, they told me, you know, just stick with it. I know this is hard for you. Whatever you need, we're here for you. And just having that, feeling like I had that support network somewhere was really helpful for me. And the main thing that stuck with me was that they told me to have goals, have long-term goals, have short-term goals, and your pathway, it doesn't matter that it's the non-traditional pathway. Don't be looking at your neighbor and seeing what are they doing. You know, do what's right for you and have your goals. And just because you're not seeing that you're accomplishing the goals in the way that you thought it should be, that doesn't matter. The thought of actually having those goals are going to help you achieve something better than you ever thought you could. So just that act of writing your goals down and trying to accomplish them is really great. So long story short, I continued to do research, met more wonderful mentors who helped me out in finding out my path, which was, you know, do you want to stay in research? Or actually I started getting interested in medicine. Okay, I like this over here and I like that over there. Turning out I liked everything. And because I was going towards this path of like, how much further can I get? I don't know. I feel like at any moment it's all going to start crumbling down because this doesn't seem real. It doesn't seem like, you know, I should be in this situation because all my family members aren't. They're doing something different and they all want to know, like, what's going on over there with you? And so it was kind of this weird feeling of not feeling like I'm where I should be, but nevertheless striving for something better and something more. And apparently I didn't know how to stop striving because I couldn't decide between research and between medicine. So I applied to MD PhD programs and I got in, and it's like, wow, how did that work out for me? But looking back and seeing my path all the way through, you know, it's that persistence, it's that never giving up. Or even when you feel like, you know, it's not working out for you, you're able to pick yourself back up and keep striving for it. You know, your path is your own, and it's not prescribed by anybody else but yourself. And that's really, I think, the path to success, is just knowing your own, yourself, what you want, and never giving up. And regardless of where that takes you, you know that was right for you. Anyways.
So I hate having to go after that. I've done nothing with my life. Okay, but anyway, my name is Jackie Wers, and I am the Director of Career and Professional Development in the School of Medicine at OHSU, and I graduated from the 25th grade. I have a PhD in biochemistry and molecular biology. So I wanted to start off, have anybody seen giant microbes before? Yeah, so what I have here are 5 cells from the human body. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you guys a couple of questions, and if you have experienced this, and because I don't want people to have to self-identify, or you know people that have experienced this before, raise your hand and I'll be throwing these out to the audience, okay? How many of you guys have been told that you were stupid, or know people that told you that you were stupid? All right. You guys get brain cells. All right. How many people were told or have or know people that have a disability? It's a fat cell, sorry. How many people have or know people that have a mental disability or challenge? Okay. This is a bone cell for strength. How many people have felt the quarter-life crisis? What am I going to do with my life? Like everybody, yeah? Okay, this is a hair cell, so I'm not quite sure how the hair cell helps with that, but it does. Okay, and lastly, how many of you guys have days where everything is awesome? All right, excellent. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to tell you how each one of those things kind of shaped the career path that I have now. So looking at me now, I am like a real adult. Like, I have a car and a house and a kid. I'm a middle-aged soccer mom. Like, it blows my mind, right? But it wasn't always that way. So let's start with point number 1, being told that you're stupid. When I was in elementary school, I was classified as retarded. So this is back in the age when retarded was a word that people used. So I was put in the remedial class. I was not taught how to read or how to write or what numbers were until one day they realized I wasn't retarded, I was just terminally bored. So from a very early age, I had this label that really stuck with me. I know that I'm smart, I know that I am deep down inside, but I still have these flashbacks to sitting in the back of the classroom and be given Play-Doh while everybody else was given a calculator. So that is something that is a label that is really easy to internalize, and it sticks. To this day, I still have flashbacks of Play-Doh. I don't let my son play with Play-Doh. But it is something that you can overcome. So first off, was labeled as retarded. I proved that I was just terminally bored. It doesn't help that I drool when I'm bored, but whatever. So I made it through in high school, and I really believe in curiosity. So I wanted to do a lot of things. And I wanted to do science, I wanted to do sports, I wanted to do all these extracurricular activities. So I did it all. I was Jackie of all trades and master of none. I decided to go to college, and in college I started doing more and more research, and it was really interesting and fascinating to me, and finally I decided to go enter into a PhD program. I entered into a PhD program, and then I developed a neurodegenerative disease. So, during the portion of my PhD program when I'm supposed to be really hitting the ground and doing experimentation, I lost use of my hands for 9 months. So, during this time, I'm sitting there. I can't use my hands. Luckily, I was able to wipe my own behind, but I was unable to brush my own teeth. I was unable to wash my hair. And as a result, I had to spend 1 year of graduate school using voice recognition software to write down my lab experiments. It was a really difficult time, and I felt at the time that obviously graduate school was not a road for me. So as I'm sitting there crying into my tissues, which I'm trying to wipe my face off with my arm because I can't use my hand, I really wanted to quit. I wanted to quit so badly that I went to the graduate school and I said, I would like to quit. And they said, no, we believe in you. You can do this. And I said, no, seriously, I want to quit. And they're like, take a leave of absence and come back. So I took a leave of absence and I came back. My hands are functional. One thing I should just sidebar mention is that I went to college on a piano scholarship. So playing the piano to me was a little bit like speaking and breathing. It was how I released my angst and my energy and my emotions. It was a great outlet for me. After the neurodegenerative problem, I'm unable to play the piano. When I sit down and I play the piano, all my muscle memory is gone. So it's kind of like knowing a language and then forgetting that language. It's kind of like aphasia that way. So I lost that outlet. When I went back to graduate school, things started to spiral out of control. I was just feeling overwhelmed and just couldn't handle the pressure of everything. And then we discovered rather spectacularly that I am bipolar. So I did the whole 9 yards, 72-hour psychiatric hold, went to the psych ward, spent a long time there, went through a lot of diagnosis and treatment. And this is something that I have learned to be really honest about, because you can have a psychological disorder and still be a successful adult. So that's one thing that I always share with people when I talk about my career path. So not only did I have this neurodegenerative problem where I lost the use of my hands, but more importantly, I really identified something that was a root problem of how I was approaching life and not recognizing and treating the fact that I have a mental disorder. So being diagnosed as bipolar was a really transformative part of my graduate career, because I realized that I am more than my emotions. I am more than just someone who works in a laboratory. I have a mission to be able to show people that you can succeed whether you have a physical disorder, whether you have a mental disorder. So, made it through that whole fun thing. And let me tell you, the psych ward is actually a really awesome place. Like, you get arts and crafts. Like, it's amazing. And Jell-O. Lots of Jell-O. So, I came back from the psych ward. I came back from being diagnosed with bipolar illness, and I decided that maybe I should quit graduate school again. And they said, no, we believe in you. And I'm like, no, I really, really want to quit. And they're like, no, nope, sorry. So I ended up, through the mentorship of people who believed in me, finishing my PhD. Now, finishing your PhD is a tremendous thing. Quinn here just finished hers, so that's amazing. It's a sense of accomplishment and fabulousness. But mine was marred by the fact that I had no idea what I wanted to do in life. I had this horrible midlife crisis, quarter life crisis, whatever you want to call it, and I just didn't know, and I felt like there was nobody there to guide me, because everyone becomes an R01 professor. So I did a lot of exploration of different careers, of different options, and eventually I became faculty at OHSU in the library. Okay, I don't shush people, I don't own a cat, I do knit, but I don't tell anybody that. So I managed to forge an alternative career using the education I had gotten. The rigorous scientific background and training is going to serve you so well in a wide variety of walks of life, careers, professionally. So I do whole lectures on transferable skills, but I'm not going to go into that now. Just suffice it to say that even if you're feeling like there's no options out there, there always are. And if you have any questions about that, I am very happy to help. And the last thing is that everything is awesome. So despite all these things, being told that I was stupid, having neurological disorders, having mental health issues, all of these different things, is that today I look at where I'm at and I am astonished. I am amazed. And it is all because I had the ability to be vulnerable enough to ask for help, the ability to be vulnerable enough to ask for guidance. So I do give a full talk on my career path, and I can pinpoint so many turning points in my career to asking for mentorship and help from the appropriate people. So I'm only one speaker on this panel today, but there's one thing that I want to leave you with is don't let any of these things box you in. Anytime that you feel like you have something that's defining you and narrowing down your options, find somebody to help talk you through that and get you to the next step, because I believe in you guys and everything will be awesome.
class. You guys have incredible stories. I've got nothing like that. Hi, my name is Kevin Watanabe Smith. Despite the name, I'm not half Japanese. I don't look it at all. That's my wife's last name, so we merged those. I've lived kind of a charmed life, I feel like now. Both my parents went to college. I grew up in Canby, which is about a half hour away from here. Went to Canby High School. Was there Canby? Yeah. Yeah? All right. There we go. And then I went to college at George Fox University, and now I'm a graduate student at OHSU. I'm in the PhD program for cancer biology. Hopefully we'll graduate this winter. We'll see. We'll see. Nothing is certain. The one thing I wanted to convey to you guys today is stories are non-linear, and you don't know what's going to play into where you end up or what you end up doing. I went to a science conference at Oregon State University one time, and the keynote speaker was a lady who was working at NASA, and she told her career story. She was a microbiologist, so she grew like bacteria and stuff on petri dishes and analyzed them and tried to understand them. And then in her spare time, she was a spelunker in caves. And then there was this whole field that emerged of like, what bacteria live where there are no nutrients? And she's like, at the bottom of caves. And so she was a spelunker that went and got bacteria out of the bottom of caves, and then NASA's like, wait, we have these clean rooms, but there's stuff growing in our clean rooms. She's like, I can figure that out because I've been working on nutrient-deprived bacteria. None of this makes sense, but it's what happens, and this is what life is. So when I was in high school, I liked to program on my TI-83 calculator. Do you guys have TI-83 calculators? I wrote Yahtzee with a complete graphical user interface, and I bug tested it for about a year, and I'd give it to my friends, and none of them would play it, and I'd be like, oh, that's sad, but you know. And now as I'm finishing up my PhD program, I'm realizing there's this whole new field of data science. That is, how do we make better use of the data we are already generating, we already have in our labs. And a lot of this comes down to, can you learn programming in R, in Python? Can you handle large data? And I'm like, well, I haven't done it for like 6 years, but I have the ability. I know that it's something that's in my toolbox. When I was in high school, I did speech and debate team. I was really good at impromptu speech, which is why I'm not complete train wreck up here right now so far. And that plays into science because we have to give presentations all the time, and you can't script your presentation entirely. You have to be able to work off the cuff, and impromptu speaking helped me there. I actually won the 3-minute thesis competition for the state of Oregon recently. And that's a lot like speech and debate. But I wasn't in speech and debate thinking this is going to help my career. It was something I enjoyed, and I liked arguing with people. I went to college. My mom always said I should have been a lawyer. When I went to college, I was undecided between 3 different majors. I figured I can't stay undecided for too long, but I need to figure out which of these is actually going to be right for me. So my first year in college, I took entry courses in biblical studies, political science, and biology. And none of those overlap in any of their requirements. But I learned that I enjoyed the research projects in political science. I enjoyed the large papers in biblical studies, and I enjoyed being challenged in biology. And honestly, I think I went to biology because it was the one thing I didn't do the best at. When we went into grad school, the first day of orientation, they told us, you guys are going to experience what we call imposter syndrome. You're going to come into a point, and maybe it's this week, and maybe it's next year, and maybe it's second year, and maybe it's in the middle of your quals exams, where you feel like, I made it here, but I shouldn't have. And it's just a matter of time before they all figure it out that I am not as good as it looks like I am. You will feel that, and if you don't, you haven't pushed yourself to the point where you should be yet. Push yourself to the point where you start feeling like, maybe I can't, because that's when you're going to figure out what you really can accomplish. I don't know. I feel like I had other stuff, but maybe later. There'll be questions, right? Thanks.
Hi, I'm Quinn Dunfeld, and I literally just finished my PhD. I turned it into the dissertation library yesterday. So it's a bit surreal. I'm still kind of riding that high. I was just telling Jackie and Kevin I was riding that high from the dissertation. I hit new lows this past, I would say, last 3 months, hit new lows and hit new highs. So I never thought I could do that, but I actually did. So I graduated from Hillsborough High School. Anyone from Hillsborough out here? Okay, so from the borough. So I grew up in Hillsborough, and I want to say ditto to everything else that's been said. I hit the quarter-life crisis. I truly did. And I actually named it the quarter-life crisis, and nobody believed me. They're like, no, that can't happen at age 18. So I went to, I was like, no, really. My mom said I was born old. So I was literally like born old. I was kind of an old soul. So I hit age 18 and hit the quarter-life crisis. I had my path all planned out, and then I went to school. I went to undergrad at Willamette University, and I took courses in evolutionary psychology. I took courses in archaeology. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I thought I had this plan planned out, and it just didn't happen that way. And so I decided, you know what? I really want to help people. I want to be in healthcare, but I want to get a job really soon. Like, I want to make money right away, right? So I didn't want to spend the rest of my life in school. Ironically, I did spend a considerable amount of my 20s and 30s in school, but I decided that I wanted to be a nurse. Anyone out here want to be a nurse? Great. So it's a great pathway. So what I decided, okay, Quinn, just apply to Linfield, see if you get in. If you get in, great. Just consider it a treasure, just move on with it, and we'll see if that works for you. So I applied, got in. This is my sophomore year at Willamette. So I switched schools, went to Linfield. I got to nursing school and I hated it. Absolutely hated it. And I was like, what am I doing here? Seriously, what? I applied to this school. I thought I wanted to do this. Okay, well, just go, just do it. Just do it, Quinn. Just keep moving forward. So I proceeded with nursing school, still hated it, but then I met one of my professors, was a professor in physiology, and he really changed my perspective on science. And he really opened up doors showing me that nurses aren't pigeonholed into, you're going to the bedside, you're going to take care of people, wipe their bottom, all that stuff. You have opportunities available to you that are beyond what you can already imagine. So I said, okay, that's great. Well, let me just graduate. So I graduated, and then I actually had intentions to go on to medical school. But I thought, you know what, make money. You need to make money first. I got married, decided to make money, started off on night shift, hated night shift, worked first on a general surgery unit, and then I worked on the cardiac and surgical ICU, hated it. But then, slowly over time, as I was taking my prerequisites for med school, I decided, you know what, I really like taking care of people, and I really like the job that I'm doing right now. So let me just see where this goes. So I continued working. This was back in 2006, and kept working, and slowly I discovered I really liked doing this, and I was actually really good at it. I was awarded Nurse of the Year 2 years in a row at OHSU, and then I decided, you know what, I want to do a research study. Why not? Let's just do it. So I did a research study, and then it actually turned out to be a lot of work. And so I thought, okay, research question, easy enough. Just go ahead and ask this research question and complete your study. So I completed my study, and it turns out research is a lot of work. But it's also very rewarding because I was able to go and present at different conferences locally and nationally. I was able to publish my work. And then in the interim, somebody decided, you know what, I'm going to campaign for you, Quinn, to go to a PhD program. I was like, no, really, that's not for me. I just want to go continue doing my nursing. I like what I'm doing. But then the more I thought about it, I thought, you know what, research I think would open up doors. And so I just graduated. And I was at the convocation ceremony on Sunday, and Sanjay Gupta, the CNN correspondent, spoke there. And he said something that was really poignant and something that I hadn't really thought of before, but he said, don't try to pigeonhole yourself into one particular position. The position that you want may not even be described yet. So what I want to impart to you guys is to dream. Just keep thinking, what is your passion? Where does your passion lie? And just because that position doesn't exist right now, or that pathway doesn't exist, just keep dreaming, because you never know where this is going to go. The other thing I want to say is I too had bumps in my road. Even though I did have I was very fortunate to have family. My parents did go to college. I had twins halfway through my PhD program. They were born 7 weeks early, very suddenly, and I too wanted to quit. I wanted to quit so badly that I even went to my chair and I said, I can't do this. And he's like, you know what, let's just take it one step at a time. So just because you hit bumps in the road doesn't mean that you can't keep going. Just keep going. The other thing I want to leave you with, or not, I'm not leaving right now, but is, at least the stage, is that do something every day that scares you. Because that's how you grow. And it doesn't have to be profound. It doesn't have to be great. Like taking my twins to the grocery store scares me. So that, I qualify as something that scares me. But every day, do something just even little that scares you, because that's actually how you grow. Like you can think big, think small, whatever that may be, but just do something every day that scares you, and then before you know it, you'll be standing up here and doing this kind of thing.
Hi, my name's Bob Pernod, and I'm also a hopeless introvert, so I'm going to take a nap the rest of the afternoon after I'm done talking with you. There's a handful of things I want to talk to you about, and I'm going to do so as briefly and as articulately as possible. But I also, I'm also just like continually impressed with the people that I go to school with on a regular basis. I think people are just incredible, and I gain a lot of inspiration and humility from these folks. I also, I also listened to Gupta over the weekend, and I thought he was just incredible. And one of the things he started out with saying was that he impressed upon me his honesty in talking to all these different groups of people who were there for graduation. So I'm going to attempt to do the same, and that is, I think there's a certain level of fraudulence for me as like a middle-class white guy talking to a group of people who come from very diverse backgrounds, and truly, like, you could teach me more about adversity and suffering than I could ever talk to you about. So that said, I'll just tell you where I come from, and you can make whatever judgments you want. Yeah, and so I'm also kind of like sometimes a wet blanket, just because people are uncomfortable asking like uncomfortable questions, and I'm just like, I'll ask anything. I think any question deserves the light of day, and yeah, and sometimes people are uncomfortable with that, and I'm just like, this is real though. So that said, I come from southern Iowa. I graduated with 39 other people. There's one black kid in my entire county as a student. I mean, I graduated, let's see, my K through 12 was like 600 students, right? I mean, we're talking small, and we're also talking like southern Iowa, which is different from like, an urban area. So I went to college and was a liberal studies major. I started out as a pre-med chemistry so I could be just like my dad, because he was a PhD organic chemist. So I learned a lot of like scientific method and like a certain amount of like judgment and stuff growing up. I hope that shifting in the room was a good thing. And I spent a summer abroad in Zambia, and I came back, and I had this huge mental block with science. I just could not do it anymore. And I had this like, what am I going to do with my life? So I did a lot of residence life and housing. I was like one of your RAs. And I did that for 2 years, and I graduated with a BA in liberal studies. Not like, what kind of liberal studies did you graduate with? Like, I graduated with a degree in liberal studies. And then after that, I worked as like a glorified full-time residence assistant at a nerd boarding school outside of Chicago, and had a really great time. I loved it, but I realized that if I wanted to continue to do that kind of work, I wasn't gonna, it was kind of like a hopeless effort, I think, to do that in that particular kind of position. So I needed to get a master's, and I realized if I got a master's, I would hate my life, because the education just did not terrify me in the way that I felt like an education career should terrify me. And so I thought about doing like 8 different things. I thought about getting an MFA in ceramics. I turned out to be a pretty good potter. I just kind of like self-taught. I was like, hey, I love mud and clay and stuff. This is great. I thought about doing like history and like global studies and learning language. Turns out that I don't speak languages very well. I mean, English is my second language. Bad English is my second language, and then like I had to like relearn, how to like speak English good. And so I kind of had a daydream one afternoon. Yeah, and then I decided to go to medical school. That's kind of like that's the easy way of telling a really like difficult story, because I think along the way there's like, I mean, for every one person that said that, like, you know what, Bob, you should do medical school, there's probably like 10 people who told me that like I shouldn't do it, I was going to have a terrible life, it was a lot of training, I'd be like almost 40 years old by the time I was done. All of these things are true. Just, I mean, right, yeah. So, thanks for clapping, because there was no applause like all along the way. I mean, it's always easy to like say like this is where I am now, and like the whole way was like easier, like I made it. But like I also had the benefit from being white, my class, and my privilege. And that's hard. I mean, and I think this is like when we get back into like speaking from a relatively fraudulent place, and that like I think it's for some of you. Just like, I don't know why this is so hard for me to say. Excuse me. I think for some of you, just living is hard. And I wish it wasn't that way. Yeah, getting to medical school wasn't easy. And then it turned out that medical school itself was even harder than I thought it could ever be. Yeah, it was just so hard. Man, just so effing hard. And truthfully, like, I'll be about 38 years old by the time I'm done. So I'm not even halfway through my education. I don't know, like, yeah, it's fine. Like, what else are you going to do with your time? At least I know what I'm going to be doing for the next, like, 10 to 15, you know, except I won't be in prison. I'll be in a hospital. So, I don't know. Like, take it for what you're worth. Like, I think, like, whatever dream that you have, you should just follow it regardless of, like, who tells you that it's a bad idea or a good idea. And then when people tell you that, like, you're on the right track, just, like, hold on to those people and let their be the voice in your head. And then all the people, like Taylor Swift says, like, haters gonna hate, just forget them, you know? Like, don't let them, like, I mean, I think to a certain extent it's, like, really helpful to, like, pragmatically and objectively, like, evaluate the criticism that they might offer you. I think you can gain a lot from that. But otherwise, like, forget that. I mean, you don't need, like, all that negativity in your life, and you also, like, to a certain extent, you just have to believe in yourself, because otherwise it's not gonna happen. And also, like, I think it's going to be hard for all of you regardless of what you're going to do. And so I think to a certain extent, if you can just admit to yourself that, like, no matter what it is that you choose, like whether you choose to go to medical school or you choose to get a PhD or you choose to do nursing or you choose to do social work, whatever it is, it's going to be really, really hard, and you'll never get the thanks that you think that you're entitled to, thanks that you think you deserve. Like, and really, like, the only thing that you're ever really entitled to is work. And I hope you love your work. That's all.
All right, scholars, we have some time for questions, and what I'm going to do is ask you to take 30 seconds to just, in the quiet of your mind and heart and or in your notebook, see if there's a question that you have, articulate that, whether it gets answered in these next couple of minutes or down the road, but see what question you have for our panelists.
I'm sorry I forgot your name at the end. The one who just spoke? Bob. So did you say that you spent some time in Zambia? Did you, I also went there but I was very young when I went there, but how did that change your perspective on how we live in the US? Because I know that this is a room full of people who've been to the School of Hard Knocks, but going there for me really changed how grateful I was to be here.
Yeah, I had a terrible experience, and it changed my life in the best way possible. I mean, we would go to hospitals, and like the sounds of just coughing were everywhere, and kids, when we would go to like pediatric hospitals, and the kids would just have these huge tumors on the sides of their faces, and so like, and then I would, and
Bob, if you could speak into the mic.
Yeah, sorry. And so like it was really clear to me that there's these like tremendous differences between us and them. And I mean, like, the white people from Europe came, and like probably the best thing that we ever offered them were vaccines, and so they could become like slaves for longer amounts of time. And I thought this was just like so unfortunate and so unjust. And I thought that was part of the reason I couldn't do science anymore when I got back, because it was too far removed from like the suffering that I experienced. And so that's why I wanted to do like art and like psychology and stuff. And so it really like changed my perspective a lot, but definitely like how I view things now is very much impacted from that time. Like I think you can do a lot of justice in healthcare, even if you're really far. I mean, no matter where you are, like there's justice that you can do, and that lesson is not beyond me, even where I sit now.
Thank you, Bob. Omar, go ahead.
My question's for Dr. Mears. Is that okay? Sorry. So I really appreciated your what you told us about your experience through grad school, and I was just wondering how you personally feel that I guess your life experiences have shaped the work that you do, or like what you've decided to pursue, or maybe it didn't. I don't know.
Oh, no, absolutely. So I pride myself on having the most miserable graduate school experience of all time. I collect miserable graduate school experiences as like a hobby, a sick, twisted hobby. But what I do and what my career is literally shaped around the singular idea that I want to make the graduate student experience for people at OHSU better. Now, there are people that are focused on research, there are people that are focused on student health. I really want to holistically make sure that our graduate students are getting through the program and learning and growing and making it through the whole process as easily as possible. I know graduate school is painful. I know the ups and downs of graduate school. So that experience really has dictated the entire trajectory of my career. When I was talking about seeking mentors, I several years ago went to my current boss and I said, I really want to help graduate students and make their experience better. And then I worked with her to make my current job. I'm working with her on making a second job. I am literally making these opportunities happen. They didn't exist before me. I'm making them happen because I know there's a need and I know that they need to be addressed. So yeah, totally profoundly shaped what I do with my life.
Thank you, Jackie. Yeah. Thanks for your patience here.
I'm doing something very scary right now. And I want to overcome that scary thing of asking questions. It's not my thing. And I'm really not going to ask a question. And I just wanted to say thank you very much to all of you guys out there, because your stories are amazing. And I was able to connect with each and every single story that was shared. And also, Bob, thank you for your story, because, you know, I was born in a country that is like very poor, you know, lack of resources. I've lost a lot of family members and relatives because of that. And just listening to your story, it made, like, to be honest, it didn't look so emotional or anything like that, but the fact that you were able to share and acknowledging the fact that there are other people out there that do not have the kind of life or opportunities that people have here is amazing, because not very many people have gone out to the third world countries and just seeing how things are happening over there. But, you know, it's really amazing, and for me especially, because, I mean, there's no one out here to share. Like, you know, we just see it on the news, but really not experiencing it. And it's my first time, like, coming across somebody like you that's been out there and seeing everything, you know? And you know, I want to become a future scientist and go to medical school one day, and the reason for all that was because of what I went through, coming from a country where medical help, or not even medical help, is very hard to get. So really, thank you very much. And I overcame my challenge. Thank you.
Tremendous. Thank you. Thank you. I want to note, this may be obvious, but it can be helpful to be reminded that the way in which we get better at things we believe we're not good at is by practice. Practice, practice, practice. And so I just want to acknowledge the value of practice and the value of being able to practice with people we know who will, in the words of a good friend of mine, lend us their hope in those moments, lend us their support. So thank you very much, and thank you. That didn't happen by accident, that someone was able to risk. Someone's able to risk because they feel the support and the hope surrounding them. So thank you very much. We have another question here.
Hi, my name is Amber. So I hear that like some of you were parents, and I find that totally amazing because I'm a parent myself. I'm entering undergraduate school, and I know you guys went through masters and you just graduated with your PhD, and I think that is totally amazing. So like for me, I'm just wondering, like, how do you balance out your family life, career, academic, and like fully committing yourself to all three aspects of your life? It's just like, for me, it's like sacrificing my motherhood to do this is such a great opportunity, but it's just like, how do you like emotionally like keep it together?
You don't. You don't. I have to tell you right now, I'm looking at my watch because I have to get back to my kids because I had to negotiate with my mom and my grandma, my 90-year-old grandma, to watch my kids so I could be here today. So, you know, I think Jackie can echo anything, but it's tough. It's really tough, and I don't want you to think that you're sacrificing your motherhood, because that is not what you're doing. You are actually improving your kids' lives. And I want to commend any parents out here and future parents out here, because it's really tough. And you know, I think especially for women, it can be very tough. And I've read multiple articles on balancing motherhood and balancing your career and having it all, but you don't quite have it all. You just kind of have enough. And so I don't have any solid answer, because everyone has their own pathway and their own way of doing things. But I think the only thing I want to leave you with is that just do what makes you happy. And yes, your kids make you happy, but in the long run, you're going to end up improving everybody's lives if you keep doing what you want to do. And that's going to look different from everybody else. So don't think that what you do has to mold or fit somebody else's mold, because it has to work for you and for your kids. So it's tough. It's a really long road, and you're up late and you're up early in the morning, but you make it happen. And you reach out for help too. Don't forget to ask for help.
Thank you, Quinn.
So I think that there is so much pressure to be the perfect parent, to be the perfect professional, to be the perfect everything, and like Pinterest is like the devil to me. I go to Pinterest and I'm like, no, that's not happening. Our first birthday party was not Pinterest worthy. So I think that one thing that graduate school really taught me was resilience, and I just needed to learn how to reapply that to the work-life balance. There has to be resilience in dealing with criticisms and trying to make it all come together. The one thing that I have tried to focus on the most is that I am living in the moment that I'm in. So when I'm at work, I am at work, and I am trying to make things happen there. And when I'm at home, I try not to take my work home, because my son is my #1 priority. Getting him to poop in the potty is my #1 priority. And trying to keep that focus is important. Now, here's something that maybe you haven't heard before, but you have work, you have your family, but in order to make it all pull together, I need to have my own time as well. Because if it's all kid and all work, and there's no time for me to just like unwind and like be myself, then I do worse at both of those other things. So I always make sure that I have time to just do whatever I want to do and not have to talk about potties all the time. So carving out time for yourself is just as important as focusing on both your work and your family.
Thank you very much, Jackie.